Hello everybody and welcome to the Daily Splat. Today is video number 18 in our series of 20 reviewing the English Premier League season. Today, West Bromwich Albion are the team under the microscope, so let's go. West Brom this last season managed to finish in 10th position, so in the top half of the table. A very big achievement for the usually boing boing Baggies who tend to zip between the Premier League and the Championship, at least in the last 10 years, at almost yearly intervals. But they've seemed to have established themselves and become a good mid-table side. They finished with 47 points, the same amount of points they finished with the previous season, where they finished 11th. They had a slightly better goal difference this time round by about 8 goals, so they have improved. They also did manage to grab an extra win this season, 13 compared to the previous season's 12, although they did lose 2 more games this season, so a bit of a pretty much treading water. We've seen a couple of these sides who've come up in recent years, establishing themselves as good, sort of hard-to-beat Premier League sides. Stoke City also stand out. Sunderland have certainly avoided relegation troubles, and even though they've only been up for the last 2 seasons, Newcastle United have not done badly either. But what about West Brom themselves? All in all, West Brom had pretty much as good a season as they could hope for, I suspect. I mean, obviously Roy Hodgson in charge at the club. Yeah, good manager. He's not bad, brought in to replace Roberto Di Matteo from halfway through the previous season. He took over at the Hawthorns in February 2011, and this was his first full season in charge, and sadly for Baggies fans, his only full season in charge. His sides didn't play the most entertaining football, I guess, but they were very tough to break down and generally played quite well. There weren't too many thrashings for them, and this was a team which was pretty much middle of the road as far as the Premier League goes. They weren't ever really in any major relegation concern. They certainly weren't threatening to break into Europe. They were just, West Brom. They were there. They were pretty much what about 70 to 80 other clubs want to be. They want to be that side that's comfortably in the middle of the Premier League, or at least that's what they're aiming for. If you offered that to Reading, Southampton or West Ham, or indeed QPR or Aston Villa at the moment, any of those sides, or even, going as far down as Crawley Town and Stockport County, or Bury, or partial to, or Macclesfield Town, you ask any of them who they'd like to be, West Brom, as they have been the last 2 seasons, is probably where you want them to be. However, the future now is a little up in the air, what with old Roy Hodgson no longer being around. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, Hodgson had a very resolute West Brom, difficult to break down. Weren't the most exciting. Peter Odom-Wingy, who had been so good in the first season he was there, wasn't so good this second season, which was a shame, but there you go. I actually thought this season that Malumbu was probably one of their better players. And yeah, to be honest, there isn't really much to say about West Brom. I find they're pretty much just where they are, where they should be. They've done pretty well. Securing Ben Foster, obviously, a key thing that I think they've done quite well. And in the last couple of days, they've signed Claudio Jakob, an Argentinian defender. So he certainly could add, something to the defence. Sorry, he's a midfielder, I've just realised. Something to the midfield. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, overall mark for the season, you'd have to give them a C, maybe a C+. Yeah, give them a C+. I think they've done rather well. Steve Clarke, now in charge, of course, having left the Liverpool vacancy, I think will be interesting to see how he can do. He's always been reputed to be a very good assistant manager. Now that he's actually in charge of the club, it'll be very interesting to see how he does. One other player, I've just popped up West Brom's squad in front of me. One of the players that I forgot to mention, of course, was Shane Long, who was signed from new Premier League boys Reading, who've been promoted now. Shane Long came up a year in advance, and I thought did pretty well, and of course getting goals against the big teams like Manchester United and Chelsea early on in his career with West Brom. I think he's got a very promising future, as indeed do West Brom. It's just going to be very interesting to see what happens. Okay, that's it. Yeah, nothing much else to say on West Brom, and I think their fans will probably sort of appreciate the fact they've had a season of just mediocrity. It's, better than being Wolves or one of the other, or Blackburn or somebody like that. Speaking of teams struggling to obtain mediocrity, tomorrow we'll be talking Wigan and their season, a very interesting one there for Roberto Martinez, Dave Whelan, etc. Okay, so make sure you tune in for that, and I'll speak to you then. Until then, bye.